Aquaponics is a combination of two technologies. It's aquaculture and hydroponics, and they've combined it together, and that makes aquaponics. It is water efficient. It is very water efficient. We'd like to get a little bit of research done to sort of prove scientifically that it is more nutritious, because every time we have people come and smell it and taste it, they go, wow, this is incredible. It doesn't taste like Coles or Woolworths food. So it tastes like real food. So that's the thing that gets us excited. So in sort of like, 3 months, 6 months time, you'll see a big difference here. Because at the moment what we've been focused on is actually trying to get the park ready, because we see this as more as an aquaponics park, as an education centre, because we want to teach people the right way how to do their system so they don't crash. We want people coming into the industry and we want them to know exactly what they're getting into. Aquaponics isn't easy, farming isn't easy. You get droughts, you get floods, you get insects, you get market crashes, you get everything like that. You got to be a scientist, you got to be a plumber, you got to be a marketing expert, you got to have all these skills together and to make it work. So that's what we're doing here. Anything to do with organics or permaculture or anything like that, you start to get into a labour intensive system. And then there's the total opposite end of the scale where it's totally extensive. So you've got intensive and extensive. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to let things thrive with neglect. So we're trying to produce extensive systems and intensive systems. So I'll show you what we're doing on both sides of the scale. So what we've done is we've got a pond over here. We call this our permaculture pond. And our permaculture pond is one where we flood. So we flood that pond and it's full of yabbies, tadpoles, little macro invertebrates which fish eat. And then we've got a series of ponds that go down. So then we flush all those little bugs and flush all the little yabbies and fish into our bigger lake. And that feeds our population of fish in our lake. So 1, there's no labour. 2, there's no feed cost. And 3, there's very, very little energy input into the system as well. And that's the way we sort of, like to do aquaculture. So I'll tell you a little secret.
Go on.
Don't tell anyone. But Australian native fish need a drought and they need a flood. So because we're in drought conditions at the moment, it's really, really good. So the water level drops. And it's like when I go to the pub on a Friday night, I'm not sure if I'm going to get lucky or not. And that's like fish as well. You just got to wait for the right time, and then when the flood comes, then or when there's a bit of decent rain comes, we'll fill that pond up and they'll spawn like that. And then bang, we've got the next generation happening. So we've just got to sort of, it's all in the tiny. So we can't feed them at the moment because we want them to breed. So we've got a series of probably about 20 or 30 ponds like this, very shallow, so they heat up and they'll produce all the tucker that we need. So yeah, just come down this way. So you can catch your fish here, you can come up, you can pick your fresh vegetables, you can come and cook it with the camp oven and things like that, because we're not going to be a big tourist facility like with big kiosks and things like that. It's just going to be very low key. You've got a camp oven, you've got a fire, you can cook it all, and then you can eat fresh product and see exactly what it tastes like. Because that's pretty important, I reckon, to, before you get into it, know what it exactly tastes like. Here as well, like you'll see Bob, they know the time that he comes here every day, and he'll just throw out a little bit of feed and they'll come up and they'll sort of eat out of his hands. Well, not eat out of his hands, but pretty close. We're setting up this place so we can show how everyone to use things with recycled stuff, and I'll show you my recycled pile. Because we believe you can recycle stuff and use it, because there's a lot of systems out there that have crashed, So, this here is sort of like our system of showing people how to do things if you don't want to work. So yeah, this is our sort of, how can you say, our recycle yard. So you can see there's a fair bit of pipe in there. we're going to, when we go to run our courses, we're going to teach people how to build vertical gardens, so go upwards using recycled material. We'll do NFT systems, which is nutrient film technique, which is traditional hydroponic growing. And then we've got tanks in there, so we'll show people how to sort of modify tanks and turn them into aquaponic systems as well. And then just pipe. We don't try and throw away anything because it's expensive stuff, pipe. And then also the other thing that we like to teach people is how to reclaim fittings. So when you glue a fitting together, most of the time you can't use it, but we've got techniques where we can pull it all apart and reuse it as well. So that's what all this is for. So it doesn't look like it, but there's 5 kilometres of pipe in there. These ones are cut in half. So what we've done with this at the old farm is we put gravel in there. Put a bit of gravel in there, and we use that. There you go. You can grow a few plants in there, drill it into the side of the wall. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Go ballistic. But there's around about $55,000 worth of pipe and fittings here, and I'll show you why. This pipe is still in the cover. Okay, you can see that. Rocked up to a lady. I said, "Oh, I'd like to buy some of your hydroponics pipe." And she said, "Get off me property." And I said, "Yeah, all right." So I come back and I said, "Oh, I'm not here to buy your house. I just want to buy your NFT pipe." She goes, "Oh, why didn't you say that in the first place?" I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." She said, "Go down the back, and in all that bush down there, in the bracken fern," she goes, "I think there's some stuff laying in there as well." So I crawled through all this bush, and lo and behold, all this brand new pipe, still in the wrapping, is laying underneath all these bushes. Now, when I went to price it brand new, $66 a length. I worked out on probably about $15,000 worth of stuff here, and I got it for $500. Okay, so traditionally, you don't have to run out. When I do my courses, I tell people, don't do anything for at least a year. Just
Scavenge for it.
Just put it out there in the universe that, you know, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and you'll be driving past somewhere and go, "Oh, crikey, I've been looking for that." "Oh, what's that? $200 an ounce?" Nah, I'm not getting you any, mate. You can stick to your hash cookies. So when you come back, you'll see, and we're going to give presentations up the top. So up the top there, there's a little bit of an area, and you can walk along the back there, and we'll be giving speeches on how fish behaviour. Fish behaviour is very important, and then also feeding habits, and just to show people that how big you can grow them in tanks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just like a little backyard system, and there'll be different technologies that we'll be teaching as well, like flood and drain system versus continuous flow systems versus NFT systems. So there's a whole lot of different ways to do aquaponics, and there's no right way or wrong way. There's just a few basic calculations that you have to stick to, and animal husbandry techniques and plant techniques you've got to stick to. But then you can hybrid your system too. You don't have to just stick to one system. You can have all 3 types of technologies or 4 types of technologies all coming off the same system. No, it'll probably be a weekly thing, won't it, once it gets going? What we'll try and do is get schools here.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to have like school kids coming here, and then that's where our focus is education. So we'd like to set up aquaponic systems in schools, show the kids how to produce good food that eats, and then we've got a function centre up the top. So we've got a commercial kitchen and a bar. Because somebody wrote in one of my workshops that I said, "How can I improve it?" And he said, "Beer at the end of it." I thought that was a really good suggestion. So I find that sitting around a campfire, having a few beers after a workshop, you probably learn just as much, because everyone's talking and everyone's not too scared to ask questions then as well. because they're a little bit braver. So yeah, so that's what we'll have here in the future. Now we're losing agricultural land at 1% per year worldwide. So let's say roughly we're going to lose 36% of our agricultural land by the time we reach 2050. And then also the population is going to get an extra 2 billion people on top. And then also our calorie intake is going to be about 2,000 calories extra per human being. And the average age of the Australian farmer is 55 to 60. So yeah, they're all going to be dead or retired. Sorry to say that, but the majority of them are. So yeah, we're coming to a food crisis. So we've got to do something about it, and that's why we're sort of into aquaponics and trying to get it more back to community-based agriculture instead of letting the multinationals take over. And they probably won't like me saying that.